Are you considering moving to Denmark? In this video, we are exploring the top 10 reasons why Denmark is a fantastic choice for anyone looking for a new place to call their home. By the end of this video, you will have a clearer picture of what life is in a small country like Denmark and what it can offer you and your family. So let's get started. Hi there, my name is Stephen Højlund, and my mission here is to help you decide if life in Denmark is for you. I have experienced life both in Denmark and abroad, so before you move, you and your family to Denmark, watch this video to the end. You'll have a much clearer picture if this country is for you. Also, watch some of my other videos to learn more about life in Denmark. I've seen the best of what our world has to offer, yet I chose to come back and make Denmark my home. But why is that exactly? That we are about to find out right now. My first reason for moving back to Denmark is the country's efficiency. Denmark is a very efficient country to live in. That basically means that your life is easier as almost anything can be handled from your computer at home. Everything works very smoothly, whether it's public transportation, public administration, internet banking, business administration, mortgage payment, childcare, hospitals, and you name it. Denmark was ranked the most digitally competitive economy in the world by the IMD World Digital Competitive Ranking in 2022. For newcomers getting acquainted with the digital landscape, for example, obtaining a CPR number, which is super important, can sometimes be a bit of a hassle. And there are quite many systems to wrap your head around, like MitID, two-factor authentication for all public institutions and some private businesses, something that every Dane uses. But all in all, life in Denmark is just a lean and smooth sailing experience compared to other countries I've lived in, and that's my number one reason why I moved back to Denmark. Number two reason why I think Denmark is a great country to live in is the egalitarian culture. In Denmark, there is a strong emphasis on human dignity, equality, and respect for the individual. Everyone is treated with equal respect regardless of their job and social status. It's empathy taught at school, which in a societal context basically means to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. As the Danish society, by means of the Gini coefficient, is the most equal country in the world, you don't find super rich people nor very poor people. That means that there are fewer people living in completely separate worlds at opposing ends of the spectrum. So more empathy, more understanding of each other. In Denmark, everyone do their groceries in Netto. Even the king might do his groceries in Netto as well, and that's why we love him so much. Of course, there are idiots in Denmark too, but generally speaking, you will be treated the same by anyone, rich or poor, high or low. This culture of empathy and compassion extends from the workplace to the streets, fostering sort of a generally inclusive community that I really love. So being respected is super important for me personally, and I think it is for many people as well. One of the main reasons why many people come to Denmark is the work-life balance. It's in the culture, and it's not uncommon to hear like a manager at work ask employees to go home and take it easy a late afternoon in the office. Just go home now. To hire an employee in Denmark costs around 500,000 Danish crowns if it's in IT or somewhere else. Therefore, you need to make your employees perform in the long run, in the long time horizon, to recuperate the sunk cost. Therefore, you need to keep your employees motivated, avoid burnout, and upskill them to create quality output in the long run. So that makes good sense to just have like a 37-hour work week with a 5-week paid holiday as well. Some sectors even have 8 weeks of paid vacation per year. It's in finance and the teachers, by the way. Work-life balance and vacation time ensures you that you can enjoy a quality of life that is among the highest in the world. Also, the work satisfaction is among the highest in the world, so that speaks for itself, I think. It's a pretty good indicator. In the Danish language, there is even a special word, arbejdsglæde, which literally means work happiness. The common interpretation of this is to have an overall purpose with work, meaningful tasks, and influence on the work and work organization at your workplace. So many Danes consider work happiness more important actually to the number on their paycheck. So there is basically something many companies, like foreign companies, get wrong when they take over Danish companies or affiliates. Like, money does not buy you work happiness. To me, this is sort of amazing because I was not born to work. Essentially, I was born to live a life with passion at work, but also with passion and time for my loved ones and my family and my friends. I don't want to be a slave to the hamster wheel. I don't. Nor does anyone else. I'm not a socialist. I believe in the capital economy and how it works, but we shouldn't be slave to it. Slave in the hamster wheel, and the Danish society provides for that. Denmark is a very safe country to visit or to live in. It's a very stable democracy with very little social unrest, if any at all. I don't remember any social unrest. On the Global Peace Index, Denmark is number 4. Crime rates are very low, and there are only a few pickpockets and scammers to watch out for. This means that you can basically walk around in daylight or at night anywhere in Denmark without feeling unsafe, and that's pretty cool, I think. Unfortunately, terrorism is a thing in the world in general, but in Denmark, there has been a few attempts, but nothing really materialized into anything because the police and the security services took care of that before it did, luckily enough. There are no imminent threats of conflict with other nations or inside the country. Denmark is a member of NATO, so I could argue that chance of war in Denmark is super slim. Even when it comes to sort of natural wildlife or natural disasters, there are not really like many dangerous animals to take and look out for, or any tsunamis coming by anytime soon. There are only the occasional small flooding here and there and a little storm, but it's nothing compared to typhoons or anything in other parts of the world. So Denmark is super safe, and for that reason, maybe Denmark even is a bit boring. Denmark has a high standard of living, which in itself makes it appealing to a lot of people, including myself. The purchasing power in Denmark is high, and Denmark is also an expensive country to live in. This means that traveling abroad with a Danish salary typically leaves you very well off in the destination country. The average yearly salary before tax in Denmark is 84,000 USD. To compare, it's around 60,000 USD in the United States as the average before tax. So Danish average salary is actually higher than the US, but the gap between poor and rich is also a lot smaller. That means that if you come with a high salary, with a high paying job from the US, you're likely to make a lot less in Denmark. While if you have medium to low salary in the US, you are actually potentially making a lot more in Denmark. Anyway, I'm gonna cover this topic in another video because it's simply too much to cover. But the bottom line is that people make enough if they just work one job in Denmark. They can live comfortably, travel to foreign destinations with a family multiple times of the year, have a nice home, and so on and so forth with just one income per person. And I think that's pretty cool. Also, Danes are among the happiest nations on the planet for many years, so something is definitely working in Denmark. I personally don't know anyone actually who struggled financially, and I was brought up in the middle class. The ones I know who cannot support themselves right now are supported by the state through early retirement schemes or other financial supporting mechanisms of the welfare state. They also live comfortably in a house with enough money to provide for their everyday needs and then some. Maybe they might not have so much money to travel for during the year, but they're still living really good lives. And if most people live a good life, society as a whole becomes much more stable and safe. So I really like that, coming back to the safety aspect that we talked about earlier in this video. In Denmark, the healthcare is free with a few exemptions, like example, dentist care. I like not to worry about this. If you are unlucky and life takes you sort of in a turn for the worse, then you're covered for. It's around 8 to 9% of the Danish yearly budget that goes to the healthcare. Obviously, there's a lot of debate in the media in Denmark whether we should spend money on this treatment or that treatment, whether this is okay to pay for and this is not, and so on and so forth. That's an ongoing debate. But it's too much to cover the details of the Danish healthcare system in this video, but leave a comment below if you're intrigued with something or want to ask a question, and I'll see if there's potential for a new video on this topic. My personal experience with the Danish health system is really good. For example, I had an American friend visiting me and she got ill, and we went to the emergency room and she was treated with no questions asked, nothing to be paid or anything. And that's because everything's already paid for, so you just go to get your treatment. Um, Apart from the healthcare system, there are many sports clubs and local organizations you can get involved in to support a healthy lifestyle. So a healthy lifestyle in general is fairly easy to pursue in Denmark. About a third of the Danes are riding their bikes to work, so you can start joining them and integrating sort of exercise in your daily routines here in Denmark. I really like this, and also that many larger companies start thinking about the health and well-being of their employees. Opposed to what many, especially Americans, think, Danes are actually very individualistic and freedom loving. And in many ways, the strong, benevolent state and the many taxes actually supports individualism. Hold on for a second here. Think about it. What holds you back most in life? It's often your psychologically instilled schema from childhood and the expectations of family that keeps you from doing what things you really want in life. The expectations put on you by your closest ones are immense. So, coming back now to my point, in Denmark, young people and students are entitled to around 1,200 USD for non-refundable student grant and free tuition on all universities. So the effect of this is actually that young people can break free of family norms and expectations. They can pursue exactly the career they want on a level playing field because they are not dependent financially on their families anymore after the age of 18. They have a free choice of education, of course, depending on the grades they got in higher school. So Danes learn from a very early age to be true masters of their own life, as they are now so little dependent on their families, and they can choose what they want to study and the career they want to pursue. I really love this part of Denmark combined with the work-life balance. I personally think that there is a lot of business opportunity in Denmark, both to start a business but also in terms of getting a job. In global rankings, Denmark is one of the most business friendly environments in the world, together with countries like Singapore, for example. The unemployment is low, and Denmark does not have enough skilled people in the workforce to support the needs in the IT and pharma industries, for example. But even in crafts, like there's a large demand for skilled craftsmen as well. So no matter what you do, I think there is an opportunity for you here. If you want to start a business, the workforce in Denmark is highly skilled and digitally minded. The administrative burden is low compared to other countries, and you can literally start a business in 24 hours from your home computer. So filing taxes and VAT are actually also not that hard. But the real comparative advantage of Denmark is the mutual trust. So a word is a word, and it's easy to make business without too much of the paperwork. That also goes for selling property and so on and so forth. I have started multiple companies in Denmark, and while it's never fun to do the VAT, it's actually fairly easy. The only downside to starting a business in Denmark compared to the US, for example, is that the home market is so small. So many companies bridge to the UK market before entering the US market to grow. Well, that's just some food for thought if you are building your empire out of Denmark. Denmark is a small country in Northern Europe. No surprises there. Nevertheless, it's very well connected with the Copenhagen airport, bridges to Sweden, ferries, and roads to Germany and continental Europe. The infrastructure and roads in Denmark are very good, so you can get anywhere you want on the map without having to ruin your rental car on a dirt road. A network of bridges, good trains, connections, and public transportation also make getting around in Denmark super easy. Particularly if you plan to settle in Copenhagen, you will never be far away from anything, including Thailand, or Costa del Sol to escape the cold weather of Northern Europe. I like those options, so I mean, why not go for it? I can be in the airport in just 20 minutes. Personally, I would also consider southern Sweden sort of part of the place you could easily roam. You can get to Sweden in 20 minutes by train or a little more than by car. If you take your car, you can go to many beautiful cities, coastal cities around Sweden. So I think Denmark is quite well connected actually. The weather in Denmark is often the reason why many people think twice before moving here, for good reasons. Most Danes also dislike the long winters as they long for the sun. But I think that exactly this longing is important actually. The change of the seasons is great for many people as you long for something else. In the summers, you miss the cozy winter times where you sit indoor with your loved ones. Some people do at least. In the long winters, you long for the summer times and you're really looking forward to it. So in that way, the seasons create more variety and variability, which I think is good for many people. That said, I would of course wish for a slightly warmer weather and climate and more sunny days in Denmark. In that way, I'm like most Danes. I hope you liked this video on the 10 reasons why I would consider moving to Denmark. If you want to hear more about how and why I settled in Denmark, please leave a comment or question in the comments, or consider subscribing to my channel altogether. Then you'll also get a little notification when I upload a new video. You can also check out my other videos here and here. Then I just have to say, until I see you again, take care.